Hello, everybody, and welcome to Knit the Revolution. This is our fourth episode. I want everyone to know that Laura Fielding is not going to be with us tonight. They spent the last several days out in Vancouver demanding a hearing from Senator Annette Cleveland, whom is holding up a hearing for the whole Washington legislation, able to have public hearings so that legislation could get through the committee um, in Washington State. So the Red Berets were out in Vancouver, Washington the past several days, and everybody was at it pretty hard, and Laura's not feeling well. So this is our Thanksgiving broadcast, and we're going to focus on gratitude. Gratitude of those that have been with us in this Medicare for All single payer fight to get health care to everyone in the United States. Um, and we've got some pretty wonderful people joining us today who exemplify those that we need to give gratitude to and just value because they are fellow activists who are willing to step up to the plate and fight on all fronts because no one fights alone. So, with that, I would like to bring in our guests, Joe Firestone and Scott Denoyer. Shane? Oh, there they are.
There we are.
Here we are.
Okay, Lewis, I didn't think you were going to be here this quick, but welcome, Lewis the cellist. How are you?
Hi,
Uh,
Lewis.
I'm great. This was a last minute thing. I am literally in the office, so
Hey, any way you can do it. I'm so grateful that you're here.
absolutely. I got the invitation from Scott a little while ago, and the idea of Thanksgiving is incredible because he said he wanted to give thanks to me. I want to give thanks to the Red Berets, but I'm not going to take over too much of this. I'll let you
Oh,
talk. You know.
okay. So I did say this in the opening, but Laura and I wanted to have Joe on the show specifically to point out all the things that he's done for us, um, the Red Berets and the movement itself for Medicare for All. And he's also a big MMTer. So he ties all of these concepts in that are so important to people understanding what we're trying to do with healthcare justice, the whole, it runs the whole gambit. I mean, we are here in the Red Berets, our primary mission is to get people healthcare, but we always know and focus on the idea that activists, all of us, the main cause of all of our woes, all ties back to the same thing, which is corporate profits and corporations keeping money and power away from the people at the expense now of our livelihood and our lives, literally. So, Lewis, I wanted to know, and if now's not a great time, we can wait a couple minutes, but I would love to know about your knitting circle because I mean, it seems self-explanatory, but I want to hear from you. What's your vision here? How's this going to work?
Oh, you're talking about the event for next month.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, very excited. So it's this knit-in, which Tsukuru and Laura were discussing, and I'm like, I go back to the revolution, the American Revolution,
Right.
and any revolution, it really starts in the home, in a living room, a couple of people getting together, and then they talk with other people who talk with other people, and you couple that with knitting circles because I've been to one before, and you'd be stunned. They're pretty radical, like the things you go over. And I'm like, why don't we put that together? We can base build. We can talk with each other either online or in person,
Yes.
and it's
Yes.
fun.
It is
I
fun.
I feel like that's something on the left that it makes that would make a big difference because sometimes I feel it's a little flabby as far as like
Mhm.
wanting to get out there and organize.
Right.
So as opposed to, let's say, a video game, well, let's do crafts.
I love it. I love it. So are you going to do like Zoom rooms or what's your vision? How are you going to do it?
Well, for the first one, it's going to be, yes, Friday. Let me see the exact date, so in case people are curious. Yeah, Friday, December 10th. It's going to start off as Zoom. So everybody can either have their faces to the camera or they can have the camera on their work. But we'll all be in the room and discussions will start, and who knows where the discussion will go. But
Right.
it'll be like the general meeting, but it'll be more freeform. And
Mhm.
in that time, somebody could actually make a project.
Right. Right. I mean, we've done that off the cuff out in Seattle when Kenny was filming us back in March. We all went down to Laura's craft store, and I hate to say this, but I'm not going to recall. I can't remember the name of it. Something fiber. Anyhow, we sat in the craft store. We just walked around. The owner of the craft store gathered up some yarn. We sat at a table. I was casting on. Laura was in the middle of knitting something. Michelle was there. She was crocheting, and a couple of other ladies. And we just talked. We didn't talk about the craft itself. We were talking about healthcare, and we were talking about the community up on Hilltop in Tacoma and what the need was, and literally how were we going to get into the community and socialize the idea of needing to do the ballot initiative. So in that discussion, it went all over the place, right? And Kenny was filming us, and that hopefully will be in the film itself because we were talking. Kenny's got so much film. He said he's probably got enough for 3 or 4 films, and he's got to cut that all down. But hopefully, some of that'll make it in there. But you're right. The discussion goes everywhere. And Lewis, you don't probably know a lot about Joe Firestone unless you've been watching us. But Joe is a professor. Um, he's an MMT guy. He's written 7 books on MMT, and he's got other books on fixing the debt. Um, just an amazing man, political science guy, and has talked to us at length about tags in a complex adaptive system, which is another really big term. But he talks about in America how important it is to have tags or symbols. And one of those would be beret. Hello, Michelle. Hello, Michelle. This is Michelle. Michelle, so how do you say your last name so that we're not wondering? Oh, honey, we can't hear you. Unmute yourself. Can you hear? You're still muted, babe. Shane, does she have to unmute herself because I don't have any control on that? Michelle, do you have a mute button that you can unmute? Go to your settings, your cam and your mic settings, and go to audio and pull up for your mic, pull up default. And if that doesn't work, pull up maybe microphone. Unless you have a headset on, then you'd have to hit headset. Oh, poor Michelle. Okay, let's get her off. Let's get her. Maybe you need to go back out and come back in. Okay, cool. Sorry, everybody. So Joe was talking about the tags or the symbols that get society around causes, right? And the history of that, which Michelle also is steeped in. So Joe, how about if you touch on that a little bit?
Okay, sure. It just seemed to me that the Red Berets were such a powerful tag for people to self-organize around. And when you get a red beret, it's it's sort of an enjoyable thing to get. And then when you start to wear it, it just feels good, but to wear it. And when the red beret is identified with such an important cause, as Medicare for all, you see someone else has a red beret too. You meet someone else, who has a red beret. You immediately feel a sense of identification, with that person, and a sense of openness to what they might suggest and what they might say. And when a number of the red berets come together, there's kind of an immediate sense of trust, in part because they recognize that they're all wearing the red berets.
Right? And it's a community because we all understand what
The
we're
sense
working
of
for.
community, absolutely. It's a sense
Hey,
of the
Michelle.
community coming together.
I'm a,
Hi, Michelle.
can you
Well,
hear me?
okay, we can. Yay!
Sorry.
So, no, this is a good segue because we're talking about what are labeled as tags, but symbols within movements that people can identify with and understand explicitly what they stand for, which helps build community and trust among people, right?
Right.
Not to So, Michelle, if you have anything you want to say about any of that, that'd be cool.
And there are all kinds of symbols that we can have. The red beret is one, flags or another. I mean, um, wordsmithing, phrases, catchphrases, those things are also symbols. They're important to a movement. And
Yeah, they're very important to a movement.
throughout history, symbols have led revolutions and important movements. I mean, that's been going on forever. It's not anything new, but it's something that we don't think about, and we don't think about something. As I was listening, I've been listening to a lot of history podcasts and craft history in particular, and we don't see. Let's see what. Let me see how I had it put. We don't see that art is actually it's a social tool, just like what the platform we're using now for podcasting and conversation and talking. Art is a social tool, and that's what I think the Red Berets are trying to bring to this movement. We're trying to show the symbols. We're trying to show that anybody can do this, or maybe not anybody, but a lot of people. You don't have to have money to do this. You don't have to have money to buy this, but it encompasses all of us. We don't mean it just for one person or a small cliquey group. This is meant for everybody. And that's what craft and art and symbology to me bring to a movement. They pull people in, they include people, and they offer them a vision. And that vision is critical to a movement.
100%, right? I mean, that's really it. And Michelle, if I don't know if you were here when we were talking with Lewis, he is going to do a knitting circle via online, right? And
Mm-hmm.
invite people in to work on their craft, no
Mm-hmm.
matter what it is, knitting or whatever, right? Scott said he's going to have to mute his microphone because, he doesn't want what'd you say, the drill press or the saw running in the background. Although
I
you
said
could
that,
get
but
out your sketch pad.
yeah, I said that my sanders are going to be a lot louder than the knitting needles and kind of drown
Right.
everybody out.
Right. Right.
In that
But
case,
And
mute is your
Lisa,
friend.
earlier you had mentioned that Tacoma knitted. I was there with you guys as well, and yes, it was the same deal. That's when I drew that ink red beret. Yeah, it is.
yes, yes, you
Yeah,
did. You did. Um,
Can I interject that as far as the knit-a-thon goes, they were having those in World War One. Men and children were knitting, and during that time, America knit 1.3 million pairs of socks to donate
that's
to
right.
the war
That's
effort.
right.
That
That's
was
right. Because the
America. That
soldiers needed
wasn't
them.
Europe. So we have a
Well,
long history for this kind of thing.
and then the women of the American Revolution were sewing the flags.
Mhm.
Betsy Ross, you see the pictures of her sitting down in her circles and the spinning wheel was there and they were sewing those flags. And they
Betsy Ross is questionable on whether or not she did the flag actually.
well, whether she did it or not, they were sewing those things, right? As
Right.
well as I don't remember which side, but maybe it was both sides, but the uniforms that the men wore all handmade too.
Yeah, particularly in the South. I know that's true in the South.
Right, right. So, one of the things that I was thinking about is that you guys were crocheting patches, your little squares.
Hmm.
Okay, so my daughter gave me a pair of buckle jeans that I bought for her like 11 years ago. And she grew and she's like, Mom, I'm going to leave these with you. And I started to wear them and I love them. And I just ripped holes in both of the knees. And I'm thinking, I need two of those squares that Michelle and those guys were working on. And I'm going to needlepoint red berets on them. And I'm going to put some backing on them. I'm going to put them on the knees of those darn jeans because I'm not getting rid of them, darn it.
Yeah,
So,
crafting
yeah.
into a lot of things is, everything that was done like historically, and it's like the first iPhone was handcrafted, the atomic bomb that was unloaded on Hiroshima was
Hey,
handcrafted.
Michelle, do you your phone is sounding really fuzzy. Can you plug it in maybe? Or oh,
There we go. Can you hear
okay,
me now?
good. Much
Okay.
better.
Did that help?
Yep.
I am so
Wonderful.
bad with electronics and technology. I'm too old to be good at it and too intimidated.
That's all right. I go out and buy a Wi-Fi headset and I can't figure out how to work it.
Yeah,
Don't feel
and now
bad.
I can't see, so I'm always doing this to try.
Yeah, I take my glasses off so that I actually don't do that. So,
Yeah.
well, Scott, when we were out in that knitting circle in Tacoma, you actually started drawing the red beret that you gave to Laura.
I did. Yeah, that was a pen and ink, and I don't know. It probably took me a good 7 days, I think, to complete that drawing. But yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, I've said many, many times. I mean, I've got no place with near a knitting needle. I mean, that's not my craft, you know. But that doesn't mean that I can't still make a beautiful red beret, you know. And
and you
that's
did.
what I did with that artwork. And Louis, gee, my man, brother. Oh my God! It was only like 2 days before you made that event, this knitting circle, that we had met. And I mean, well, you had a professional web page up. I mean, your craft is music, and I'll tell you what, I couldn't carry a note in a bucket. But that doesn't mean I can't love beautiful music, you know. So I got to tell you that we've all seen the apple behind me that I made. That whole concept is it's a graphic of an apple that has two halves that are not connected until I put the heartbeat between it, just like our fight for healthcare here, coast to coast, being connected through our activism. And Louis, I wanted to make sure you were on because I mean, the New York Red Rays is all new, and right away you're like, yeah, let's do this shit. So yeah, let's do this shit, brother. Um, when we were out in Vancouver, we had done that help wanted poster, the wanted poster sign for Annette Cleveland. And I'll tell you what, we were at the last night. We'd already done all of our events, right? And we're having dinner at this little restaurant right around the corner from our hotel. And our waitress walks up to us and she goes, "Are you guys the Red Berets?" I follow you on Twitter. Now, this pasty, oh my goodness, I can't remember her handle right now. But I'm sure somebody will help me out on that's watching, hopefully. So she comes up to us and she's like, I've been following you on Twitter. She's only got like maybe 60 or 70 followers. She's not very big yet. We're going to change that for her. And after a brief conversation, she found out about Annette Cleveland blocking calling for a hearing and not letting people in Washington hear their voices or speak their voices. And she's like, that's bullshit. She's my representative, and she works with a food pantry type thing. I can't remember what exactly she said it was. And she's going to reach out to that organization and get them all involved in the Red Berets. And if nothing else, a couple hours ago, Annette Cleveland was at the restaurant that she works at, and she was trying to get a way to confront her about the hearing. Furthermore, this wonderful new Red Beret is also launching her own Vancouver, Washington Red Beret chapter. Right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And she just followed me, Scott. I'm looking for her so that I can put it up here, but I'm coming up with no luck. I'd like to share my screen if I could, just so that I can share the knit in that Lewis is doing.
Yes.
Just give me a second and I will make this happen. Cross your fingers.
While you're doing that, can I say a little tiny thing about the craft and the art?
Sure.
The symbols and the Red Berets and the art, and people look at these and they say they're always so impressed. And some of mine are not great, I might say, and I'm glad that they like them. But they come to us and they ask because they see a group of them, so they know something's up. And Laura has talked about this before. They know something's up, and they'll come and they'll interact with you. So they're not coming to the protest or things. You're drawing in people that might be shy of that kind of thing. Just with the artwork, it's a way to interact with people. It's a way to draw them in and get them to question. So I've been thinking about maybe even taking that a little further and doing some interactive art pieces to get people to come and ask and talk about what's going on.
Are you talking about Michelle? Yeah. Do you mean like sitting at a booth or something like that? Interactive?
No, I'm kind of meaning like what we did with the snowflakes, where they see something happening, and they can choose to come and be a part of it, or they would come up and say, "What are you doing?" And I've even thought of pieces of work that move and flow and that people can come and interact with. I've seen all kinds of ideas like that. But I view these pieces of art and this craft work as another way to reach out to people who before were inaccessible, that might have been intimidated and now are intrigued.
Exactly. Lewis, why don't you talk just a second? I've got your, if you can see it, I've got your invite up where people can sign up.
Yes, thank you. So, yeah, I'm going to talk about that. But before, I wanted to say I've been listening to all of you, and you're so knowledgeable on this topic, especially how the Red Beret is a symbol. And I'm thinking that maybe this is something that we can use to get beyond our current circle, because if we just rely on people who already support universal health care, it's because we don't have it yet. So if we keep doing what we've always done, then you're just going to, be where we are now. On the other hand, you mentioned how people will come close, they'll be curious, they'll be interested. It's a conversation piece. And we can start to reach out to people who might not have cared or been interested otherwise. And that's kind of the whole idea behind the base building. And that's exciting, is reaching out to people who might not have had interest before. So I'm looking here, and yes, for the event, it used to be Friday Night Knitting Circle. I expanded it to Crafting Circle because it's for craft. Anybody who can do any kind of physical craft, of of whatever type they choose. Hopefully, it's a product they can create and then send to the Red Berets, donate it to Red Berets, who can then sell it and then use that money, because we don't have billions of dollars of dark money pouring in. It's completely grassroots, and it's self-funded beyond self-funded. So it's really important that if people can create stuff, that they do. And if they go to mobilize.us, they can find it. I have a bunch of links in my Twitter timeline. It's also on the Red Beret timeline. It's in many places, but if anybody's interested, I'm Lewis the Cellist on Twitter, at Lewis the Cellist, and they can reach out to me, and I can send them the link as well. We want as many people as possible. And my most important point, which I didn't make before, is I would like us to expand. Since it's a crafting circle, it doesn't have to be somebody who's already a Red Beret or who already supports universal health care. It could just be somebody who wants to craft.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
that's the number one thing, if I can get across, is we don't have to wait for people. It's not a credit card that you have to wait for it to be pre-approved. Like that's not needed. You just, anybody who wants to make anything, hey, hang out Friday night. We'll have laughs. We'll talk about a lot of stuff. You'll see faces. You'll see cool art. And then expand the amount of people we're reaching out to. That's it. All craftivists. I love that term. Anybody out there who wants to make something, hey, come hang out with us. It's free, and you never know. So that's the part I wanted to expand on for the event, and I hope to see as many people as possible.
And I just tweeted out just now, you guys. So I'm at 50 lines only, and I did tag you in it, Lewis, so you'll be able to see it too. The nice thing about putting people together, new people with some activists, is that they get to ask the question. What are you guys doing? How do you get together? How do you come together? They get to ask questions like, how did you get to be in your community organizing? Because it's like you said in the beginning, that can be intimidating for people, but just sitting down and working together on a craft, it's inclusive, it's productive, it's inviting, it's not intimidating. And then you have people that are open to having those conversations where they ask questions without feeling intimidated or put on the spot or anything like that, which is really, really, really important for all of us. Scott, anything you want to chime in here with?
Yeah, no, that great timing. Because one thing I'd like to also say is what we're seeing now here across the country is we had that event in San Francisco, California, and all the imagery showed Red Berets everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
We had that event in Vancouver, Washington, Red Berets everywhere. New York City. How many there was this, Louis? I think there was four of us that had. There was 5 Red Berets, but we only had 4 to spare. So there was 5 of us. Again, and Washington D.C. Red Berets everywhere. This is becoming a movement of solidarity across the country. And so even though the founder of the Red Berets is not here with us tonight, holy shit, she's everywhere.
Yes,
Everything that she's done.
Yes, she is. Yes,
And
she
I hope
is.
she's watching because my God, she is an inspiration to all of us, you know. And
Talk
now
about
we
needing to
have
be grateful. Grateful.
Socorro over here in California. You know, she started her own, he started his own chapter of the New York, of the California Red Berets, San Francisco Red Berets, I believe his chapter is.
Yep.
And
Yep.
now we have the Vancouver, Washington chapter. We have the New York chapter. We have chapters springing up all over the damn country. And I'd like to encourage anybody watching the show, you know, there is no, as Lewis was just saying, it's not like a credit card that all you've got to do is say, you know what, I want to do this and get involved. And you can start your own Twitter handle of Ohio, Washington, or Ohio Red Berets or Floridian Red Berets, you know, and we get groups together and these actions are intimidating. They're scary if you don't know what you're doing. You know, 5 years ago, I would never have been saying, hey, you know what? Let's get a whole bunch of people together and go plaster a politician's neighborhood with some signs. But, you know, I walked away from that Vancouver event, you know, and those are the fun events when you're bringing it right to the politicians. You're like, this is enough. We're sick of this shit. We ain't taking it. And we're putting you on display. You know, we're letting the people know what you're not doing for us. And I'm taking that action, and I've already reached out to Lewis. I'm like, you know what? We're going to do the same thing for Andrea Cousins. We are going to get a whole bunch. And we don't need a lot of people for this event. We need maybe 4 teams of 2, 8 people, 8 Red Berets walking around a farmer's market right in front of everybody, and they see all 8 of us coming in, and we flock in. We put signs up everywhere, and they see it. We make a very public appearance saying, this is us. We're sick of this. We ain't taking it. You either work for us or we're going to expose you. And that I wouldn't be doing that if I hadn't attended other events. So if you're intimidated, I get it. You know, just attend a couple events with other people, and you don't have to be a leader. Just show up and hold a sign. Damn, please show up and hold a damn sign. That's all you need to do at first. We need you to show up. Even if you don't want to hold a sign, show up and walk next to us. Just show up. That's
You'll catch
it.
the bug. You'll catch the bug.
Yeah, and you know what? That's what we need. We just need you people to show up to these events. And I'm not asking. I don't expect everybody to do what I do. People don't have the availability to do what I do and travel all over the world, you know, or the country. But you know that They don't have the funding that I get from all you amazing, great grassroots activists that have donated to so many of these causes that gets me around. Thank you, every single one of you. Again, this is the Thanksgiving. So thank you,
Gratitude.
every single one of you. Yes, yes.
Gratitude.
I wish I was
I
more
just
well spoken as an activist, but I am me, and I'm raw, and yeah, here I am.
and we need you just the way you are. And that's, I think, the other thing that I want to say to everyone who has worked with us over the years and more recently and in the future, people we met and people we will meet soon. Everybody is so valued in this, no matter how small amount of time you have to commit or how large a time commitment you can make, whether you're willing to go out and hang signs, put yourself on a train, get yourself in a car and travel, or if you're just going to sit on the corner at your local grocery store with a table that says, hey, we all need healthcare. And please ask me why I'm sitting here crocheting or knitting, or please ask me why I'm sitting here in a red beret handing out flyers, because that's how it starts. Um, I am going to do something. I'm just trying to figure out how localized it's going to be as far as a red beret Twitter account. I was thinking of going county, but I think I'm going to either go Steel City or maybe I'll go Wexford, because that's where I'm at, and I've got a hospital across the street, and I've got a nice beef with that insurance run hospital, because I spent a couple of days talking to the nurses and the doctors in there about what it's like to work in there and what they're up against and how desperate they are. They want, I really hope that you would talk to the hospital, and I would hope that they would listen to their patients. And I said, well, why don't their nurses tell me what they think? And I will communicate that. Right. And they're like, well, you can't use my name. I'm like, that's not a problem. That is not a problem. But tell me what's going on here. And they were just saying, we're understaffed. This place isn't set up right. We've got situations where we know patients need something and we're not able to provide it. That is the activism too, right? Being there on the front lines with people, having your ears open, listening to them, because oftentimes you'll see people bang, they'll be real, they have a beef to pick with the doctors. Okay, some doctors have crossed over and they work as liaisons with the insurance lobbies and the insurance industry itself, because your ACOs and the MCOs are run by those conglomerates that have vertically integrated healthcare, right? But your frontline practitioners, your doctors, when you walk into that ER, your nurses that are on the floor of those hospitals, those are the people that are there to take care of you. And they're stuck. They're stuck having to drag around a cart with a damn computer on it, right? And when somebody's alarm goes off because they need their nurse, it flashes up on their computer screen up in the right-hand corner because they expect them to continue to type until they're finished with their thought, and then they're supposed to go look at what the alarm is. What is that? That's insane.
That's crazy.
And that's what's going on.
That is nuts.
It's insane, right? So, and you have to remember, those clinicians work within these systems that are owned by these insurance conglomerates. They're between a rock and a hard place. But I can tell you that after working in healthcare for 10 years, and then nowadays when I run into doctors and whatnot, these poor people, they know what they're doing is a problem. What are they supposed to do? Right? They've got to go to work. They want to help take care of people, and yet they're being put in situations like this. And that's the other reason why we've got to be out here, because they can't. They need to be able to take care of us as best they can. But we need to be able to be telling those stories for them. That's why they get behind these movements. That's why National Nurses United was behind SB 562 in California years ago, when all of this first started with through the states. And we thought that was going to work until they buried that bill, right? Those are the types of things that us coming together, talking about, hey, let's go hang some flyers. Let's knit some berets. We can have these kinds of discussions. Dr. Firestone, Joe, Laura and I wanted to make sure that you knew how grateful we were that you were willing to sit down initially and do some mediation with us when we were having troubles early on. And then you dove into the whole Washington legislation and the fiduciary analysis that Jerry Friedman did on that legislation. And then you were like all in, all behind us. Like, yeah, this makes sense. And we need to tell this story. And then you became a Red Beret. Like, that was it. You and Bonnie, Red Berets on, and here you are. We're talking to you every day. And
right.
we're so grateful.
Lisa, I'm still with you completely. I just love the movement. And I love the Red Berets. And I love trying to platform the Red Berets. And I'm going to keep on doing it.
So grateful.
I'm going to keep on doing it until we get there. And it looks like we're having to go through the states. That's just fine with me. We'll go through the states also. And we'll build a fire at the national level at the same time.
Yes, we will.
States.
I just want to say this. Alice B. Green is in the chat tonight. She's out on YouTube. Alice, we're going to have you on the show very, very soon. And I'm so grateful that you're here. And thank you for everything that you do. She was at the protest this weekend, was she not, Scott?
Yes, she was 100%
Yeah.
with us.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
why don't you?
she was also she
No,
also
go ahead.
helped, I believe, with the weeding. With the method that we used for those flyers was what's called a wheat paste.
Yes.
And what we do is we glue it down and put the paper over the top, and then put another layer over the top. It's like paper macheing it right to the light pole. Um, I can just picture the minion from Annette's staff having to go out there with the scraper, having to get those off of all those poles, because we plastered the entire park. We plastered the farmers market, and then we went over and plastered her neighborhood, which was a gated community, and somebody very quickly came out and let us know that we were not allowed in that community, and that if she couldn't tell us anymore, but if we don't get out of there, there will definitely be problems, and that we had to go anywhere outside of there, but not in there. I promise you, Annette knew about the wanted posters before we even started our cars. Because there was another neighbor that had already pulled over along the side of the road to read the poster. I mean, they came across the lane against traffic to read the poster on the telephone pole so that they didn't have to get out of their car and come across all of us scary socialists. And then as we're pulling away, there's another neighbor that's looking like Wilson, looking over the top of his fence. Hey, what's going on over there? So, yes, I promise you, Annette was very pissed off that day. And I
I
certainly
love
hope
this.
so.
I love the
Because,
idea.
yes,
The
and
wheat.
that is why
Oh,
we are
love it.
going to continue that here on this coast. And
Do we have a
again, the
recipe?
inspiration that of everybody else, and we get these ideas from one another. And there's a local candidate that I work with. Her name is Teresa McColeman, and she was running for Schenectady mayor. And she had this big, huge billboard put up, right? And her opposition put up this little tiny, frail piece of crap banner that he stuck in the concrete, the cracks in the broken concrete, in front of her big, huge billboard, right? And her comment was like, "Look at him trying to steal my shine." And now I've stolen that term from her because that's now mine. Teresa, I'm hoping you're watching because, yeah, that's my tag now. And just like that, when I'm going to steal Vancouver shine, and we're going to repeat that action over here in New York.
Uh, speaking of Scott, you and I got to sit down and talk about what you're doing, and now that like everybody in this house is on the mend, all three of us have been in the hospital in the last 10 days, which
Oh my
is
goodness.
ridiculous.
Oh, wow.
Ridiculous.
Every
Ridiculous.
time I talk to you, somebody's going to the hospital.
It's ridiculous. Believe me, we're on the mend now. I want to I just need to tie in with you because I want to help what you're doing with the New York Health Act. And I need to get back into the organizations here in Pennsylvania. Nobody's got any legislation anymore, but they're still calling themselves Pennsylvania Healthcare Act and this and that and the other thing, but they don't have any legislation. Okay. So we may have to start a new one here where we write our own legislation and the hell with the rest of it and get going. But I want to mirror you and I want to support you, Scott. I want to work together so that I'm not reinventing the wheel.
Yeah, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We just need to blow that whole damn thing apart and start something new.
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
That wheel's been
Exactly.
turning around too many times.
We already know how to make the wheel. And we're not messing around with stupid spokes. We've got it. We've got some,
Yep.
We're tool and die here. We know what we need to do. We just need to get it done. The heck with
Damn
it.
right.
So, Scott, is there some way I can help with the New York Health Act as well? Because, but that's my native state.
Yeah.
From the city, and I'd like to help.
Yeah, our strategy this year is what we've realized. First off, is we have no ground game.
Oh,
Sad to
yeah,
say.
of
I
course.
mean that
Yeah.
is when I say our fault. I don't mean the New York campaign for New York Health Act. I mean activists. The New York activists have not made enough noise to get the people to hear about this bill. We have had majority support in the assembly for years. I mean, the New York Health Act has actually passed the
You have.
assembly 4 times already. And this past legislative session was the first time where we had the majority Senate support as well. So it's in technicality, we all know that some of our politicians might claim that they sponsor a bill as long as they're not worried that it's going to be called for a vote, which we believe might have been the situation with this past year and why it wasn't called because, well, God, we wouldn't want to call for a vote and have somebody have to stand up for what they said they do,
Right.
you know. But
Right.
and all of our pressure from that we had was from lobbyists for the unions. The leaders are the ones that are getting in the way of our legislation this time. The union leaders, and we've already spoken to the union leaders in great length, and they understand how universal single payer healthcare would be better for their members, but it wouldn't be good for their foothold on their members. They
Right.
fought so hard for these contracts, and you just want to throw that all away and give them
Yes, we do.
something that
And so do your members.
yes, but
Right.
that's the foothold that the leaders are using. So we know we're not going to convince the leaders that are profiting from this storyline. So now we're going to go after the members. We're going to get the members educated so that the members can tell the leaders, hey, you know what, this is bullshit. We don't want you fighting for contract. We want you to get us health care, and then you can fight for our pay. You can fight for leave, paid leave. You can pay for maternity leave and so forth and so on, you know, and that's
It's
our,
such a
our goal.
bogus it's such a bogus excuse, Scott, because they've already got it in the contracts, right? Their health care is there. Most of the
As long
time,
as they have
unless
their
they've
job.
got yes, absolutely. However, what skin is it off of any union leader's back if they were to get behind all they would need to do would be to tell their membership or communicate to their membership, or you communicate to their membership and you let them know what's going on, and then the rank and file goes up to the leadership and they say, yeah, the union's going to endorse the New York Health Act. What difference
Yes.
does it make? If you are worth any of your weight in salt, you get to the negotiation table and you tell them the entire rank and file is behind the New York Health Care Act. We are going to get behind the New York Health Care Act, right? So,
Yeah. And
just to let you know, we're coming to the table this year and we want pensions and we want higher raises. And if there's any 2-tier, 3-tier crap going on in here, that goes away. I don't
and I'd
understand.
also like to say another one of our strategies here, and you're well aware of this, Lisa, is a national effort for state-based legislation. And I'd like to give a shout out also again with this Thanksgiving podcast to Andre Stackhouse, who is putting
Yes.
together an amazing group on that exact thought of national level to get state-based legislation. Because we know that the insurance companies already have the strategy. They
Right.
will block us nationally, and they've got minions and the state as well. So being that they've got that, we've got it. We're always playing catch up. We should have came up with this strategy years and years ago because they sure as hell already did. And
It's
we really need to start mirroring what these insurance companies and all these corporations do. I mean, they use transference on every single avenue. Everything they do, they accuse the opposition of doing, and they're always 2 steps ahead of us because they know what they're going to do and how it's going to come across. So we need to start understanding their tactics and start using their evil tactics against them.
I'm ready. I know you're ready, Scott. Let's take it
Damn
to this.
right.
We might as well take it to New York. I mean, they can handle the fight. I mean, New Yorkers fight anyway. They're there.
Damn right we
We
do.
might, we might as well. And as far as the ground game is concerned, we can do that. We can do that. Can New York can't do a ballot initiative, can it or can it?
We
No,
do
yeah,
not.
No ballot
No.
initiatives in New York.
yeah, you can't do them in PA either.
Yeah, but there are
We've
an
had a
awful
lot of
lot of
centrists.
people that can get involved in a mass movement.
Oh, sure. I mean, we can do a ground game either way. You got to get to all the small businesses either way. Whether you go at it from a ballot initiative or not, you've
Yep.
still got to do that ground penetration anyhow. Right? And you've got yeah, I want to do that with you, Scott.
Yeah, 100%.
I really
That's something
do.
else.
I want to work on that. I mean, me and Joe, anybody else who wants to do it that's in New York, we could just need to sit down and do a strategy session and start talking about how to penetrate the ground game. And you guys, I just want to say this out loud. We've got 8 minutes until the end of this stream. So I think maybe we want to go around the room and I don't know, anything else you guys want to say? Maybe let's start with Michelle since she's been quiet. You're on mute, babe.
I had to
There you
close
go.
the door. The TV's on in the other room. I'm
Okay.
making a new recipe of banana rolls.
Oh,
That's what I was doing in there. I'm sorry. It was right at a critical time. And I couldn't ignore them or I had to throw them all away. Anyway, I don't really have a whole lot to say other than I appreciate the people that I'm working with. And for me, Red Berets is all about coalition building. That's what we're doing here. So I'm going to say goodbye because my timer's about to go off. Sorry about that.
Happy
Now, before I say
Thanksgiving.
thank you for the snowflake.
happy Thanksgiving, Michelle.
Thank
Happy
you.
Thanksgiving,
Michelle,
Michelle.
thank you
Love
for the
you.
snowflake.
I kind of think that this red beret is yours, is it?
It is. I think it is.
Oh, yeah, that is one of mine. That's
That is one of
my
yours.
color.
I've got one of yours on too, Michelle.
Oh,
And I have your mittens.
I'm so honored. I'm so honored.
So thank you very much for this wonderful beret, Michelle.
Anytime. I will make anyone you want to have one. As long as they wear them out in public and tell people what they're about. That's
Absolutely.
my line. Okay. Bye-bye, y'all.
Bye-bye. Happy Thanksgiving.
Love you, Michelle. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Lewis?
Yes, I've been wanting to give this thanks for 6 months now, and I'm just really excited to do it. First, thank you for having me on the show. It was very last minute. I'm glad, and all of you have been so informative. Thank you. Like I've just been listening to each of you and learning. I want to say thank you most of all because you've finally given me and lots of other people a chance to join a real working class populist movement that's not based in the left or right paradigm. You
There you
join
go.
some of them, it's like, what are you? You're a Democrat or what are you? Some kind of Republican? And no matter where you are, it's like you have to be lockstep or else it's like you're kicked out of the social club. This is not Democrat, it's not Republican, it's for people who care about other people, particularly Americans, and who want health care. Because, it was like that Bernie Sanders. I was at that rally, the Queensbridge one, and he mentioned about, yes, like doing something for a person you've never even met, a stranger.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing. We're doing this for all Americans. And the fact that it's completely working class and it's not tied to any particular ideology, I feel like this is our biggest strength. We can get through to other people, and it's just the potential is limitless. So I just wanted to say thank you to all of you for making a space for people like me to feel, excited and ready to do activism. Thank you.
Lewis, that was beautiful. Thank you so much for that. And we're going to have this on where I can go listen to it again and write it down. And we're going to make some memes of you. So get ready, babe. Okay? We're going to
I'm
have
all
Fran
in.
make them. All right, cool. Love you. Love you. Love you. And we'll talk again. We'll talk real soon. Strategize in the whole 9 yards. Who's next? Scott?
I'll go next, I guess. So, Louis, I want to thank you for the knitting circle idea. That sounds like a wonderful idea. Just people sitting there, coming together, and coming up with ideas while they talk, okay, and while they converse, and building solidarity. That is a really great idea. If people can do it through Zoom calls, so it's not simply a local thing, it's really a great way to spread the whole movement. So thank you very much for that idea. And I want to thank Scott also, especially Scott, because Scott is the leader who moves. Wherever the call is, he comes, he tells the story, and he makes it clear to people how important it is to have a Medicare for All bill passed or a single payer bill passed. How important it is to lives, how important it is to families, how important it is to us all as Americans to stand with other Americans. It's so important. So thank you, Scott. You are really, really doing a wonderful job.
Thanks, Joe. Again, every single event I go to, I mean, here's my thought. Whether we have 5 or 2,000 people show up, every event is successful because our goal is to get our voices heard, to make people understand that the true cost of our healthcare system is actually in lives here to profit someone else, And my promise to Danny was to make our lawmakers look me in the eye. And every single action gets me closer to another encounter with one of our politicians. So again, anybody that wants me at your event, I will show up at any event to speak about healthcare. And I realize that if I show up at some events that are hosted by someone that might be in discourse with somebody else, they're like, well, what are you talking at their event for? Everybody, even the worst Nazi doesn't deserve to get killed to profit some insurance company. He doesn't, Well, I could disagree upon every other aspect of his life, but he doesn't deserve to be tortured by our healthcare system or her,
Anyone.
So anyone wants me there, provide me a way to get there. And if I need lodging, give me a sleeping bag next to your dog's bed in the basement for all I care. I'll show up, I'll speak, and I'll go home. I don't charge, but I have no money to get there and I have no money to stay there. So just get me there and I'll speak and we'll fight for healthcare. And if you think any of these actions doesn't give me a taste of revenge, you'd be wrong. I am fighting to save lives 100%. That's my goal, is to save lives. But I do enjoy the taste of blood when I taste the insurance company's blood in my mouth. 100%. My goal is to destroy the corporations that destroyed my son. So yeah, there's a taste of revenge there. And thank you everybody that has helped fulfill that goal. Everyone. Because again, no one fights alone. It was about me needing everyone helping me. And of course, I'm going to show that solidarity back. So thank you, everyone that has exemplified no one fights alone. Thank you.
Scott, you mean the world to me. I know you know that. Your wife, your children, all the Red Berets from everywhere, online, out in Washington, down in Florida, in Michigan. I mean, they're all over the place. And there's too many to name, and I don't want to leave anybody out. But I will say that this is the family. This is the core. If I need something, I know I can call on any of you guys, and vice versa. And I think we've talked about this before, but we all know that I could not get out there this past week to help you guys out, and that always sucks when your core team are out there. So coming this summer, maybe this spring, certainly not in the winter, but maybe in the spring or the summer, we're going to do something right in downtown Pittsburgh, right under the UPMC building. We're going to do
I'll be
something
there.
big. And we're going to bring the paste. We're going to get that paste recipe. We're going to make
Damn
tubs
right.
of it. And we're going to do the 10th Street Bridge. We can do, Pittsburgh's got the big yellow bridges all over the place around the triangle where Heinz Field is and
Nice.
whatnot. Maybe we'll cover the Warhol. I'm not quite sure, but we're going to do something huge.
We'll
We're going
light
to
it
get it.
up.
On the way, people march across those bridges on the way to the Pirates games. It's a great time to get your bullhorns out. We'll talk to people about single payer. We'll get something done in a big way. When there's 30,000 people on the way to a ball game, working class stiffs going to a ball game,
Nice. Sounds like a
right?
plan to me. I'm in.
I'm there. I mean, seriously, big time, big
Let's do
time.
this.
All right, cool. I love you all. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Lewis. We'll see you again. Dr. Firestone, you know how grateful we all are. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Yes. Happy Thanksgiving, all.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Love you all.
See you soon.
Good night.
Bye.